it was now time for me to go back to court. And I was never evaluated again for competency. You would think if they reported I was variably competent, that before they sent me to court again, they'd want to prove that I'm now fully competent and continually competent, whatever the term might be, chronically competent, whatever it might be. No one evaluated me again. I went back to court, prisoner transport vehicle, brought there by marshals, again in the holding cell, and then brought up in front of the judge. And at that point, there was a witness there from the MHAS who said I was competent with reservations. And the court said, reservations, what do you mean? Well, I understand enough about my case to be called competent, but they think that I'm a danger. They had a physician's emergency certificate for 15 days. So here they'd had me there for 90 days. There was not one documented incident that showed any hard evidence that I am at all dangerous. At all. I had no bad interactions with staff or peers. That was written. But suddenly, they're telling the court I'm a danger. Now normally in court, if that were the case and they found you competent but yet you're a danger, they would just put that person in jail. That's what should have happened. Since you're found competent, you're awaiting trial, but the state thinks you're dangerous, well, they just put you in jail. Well, that wasn't what happened. They sent me back down to the holding cell, and then a number of minutes later, I heard them call for me. They said, send him up, take his irons off. They took the handcuffs off, the shackles off my feet, and they sent me up the stairs, down the aisle of the courthouse, and out the front door, where they had an ambulance waiting to take me for a 45-minute ride back to Whiting. From what I have heard of, this is unheard of. This is not a hospital where people get treated for suspicion that they're a danger. They go to some other psychiatric hospital for 15 days and they're evaluated. This facility is for criminally insane individuals. It's maximum security. So they put me in this ambulance, and I'm heading back. It was certainly an improvement over being in a prisoner transport vehicle. That's a rough ride, and with prisoners. Here I'm in luxury. I'm in a limousine, laying on a stretcher with an ambulance attendant. The attendant, however, was very nervous. He said, he says, you came from Whiting, which is a rough place. You came with marshals, with handcuffs and shackles. You went to court. The court is sending you back. Yet you're in my ambulance. There's no police. There's no staff. You don't have handcuffs on. No shackles. And they're saying you're dangerous. And it's just me. He actually spoke those words and he was nervous. And when we got to Whiting, he complained. The whole time going there, he was nervous. He wanted to know why he should be afraid of me. And he was reading the PEC that was provided by the doctors. And he could not figure out from that why he should be afraid of me. And I assured him that he didn't have to be, but he said, well, that obviously did not help him at all. They took me back to Whiting, and now, again, enter the facility, strip searched, everything. I'm back in now for another 15 days. During that 15 days, no contact with doctors, no evaluations. You know, they say I'm a danger, they believe so, but no evaluations, nothing. I don't really even see them till we get to the end of it. And I said to the doctor, well, my 15 days are up. I'm going home tomorrow. And the doctor said, oh, no. No, you're not. What do you mean I'm not? We applied for civil commitment. Civil commitment. That means I stay here. On what grounds? That you're a danger to yourself or others, or quite possibly gravely disabled psychiatrically. And now, gravely disabled means you can't take care of yourself. So that's one reason to commit a person. Danger to oneself, there was no evidence of that whatsoever. To the contrary, really. Danger to others, again, there was no evidence, but it seemed they decided to go with that one. So I got served again by marshals, and that I was going to a hearing coming up where the judge was going to determine if I needed to stay there. And that was very, very disturbing news. So I attended this hearing with, and I had some support by a woman from Connecticut Legal Rights Project, and she was very, very helpful. She was extremely helpful and comforting to have someone working in my favor and supporting me and giving me advice. And she looked through the paperwork very, very early on at Connecticut Valley Hospital, and she said, at Whiting, and she said that it appears, just by looking at the paperwork, that someone is trying to give you a psychiatric diagnosis that you don't deserve. And it was after that I informed her that I blew the whistle on Electric Boat and Sunless, and I feel like I've been disappeared, and surveillance and electronic equipment is being used on me from the hospital. So she was present at my hearing, both the medication hearing, no, not the medication, but at that hearing. And the doctors, without any evidence, said that, in their opinion, I could become dangerous. There was no evidence at all from my past. There was no evidence that I brought there or demonstrated there, or that there was none whatsoever. But in their opinion, I could become dangerous. And that was disturbing. However, the standard of evidence for civil commitment is clear and convincing evidence, not a hunch, not a suspicion. There has to be clear and convincing evidence. That was on a Friday. On the following, the judge said, I'll have my decision by Monday, so they made me sweat through the weekend. On Monday, the doctor said, well, the judge has not decided yet. They made it look like a photo finish. I had been told by a very helpful lady from Connecticut Legal Rights Project that they were going to let me go, but they wanted the judge to do it and not the hospital. That's what she believed. But still, they made me sweat through the weekend, and then on Monday the doctor said, well, the judge has not decided yet. And then finally, the doctor said that the judge is letting me go. And he said, do you have anyone that can give you a ride? And I said, no. No, I don't. My mom is elderly, and she doesn't drive this far. And so, no, I don't. He said, maybe we could get you a bus pass. I said, why don't you guys just give me a ride home? And he arranged a vehicle and two of the people from that department, and they drove me home and dropped me off at my mom's house where my vehicle was. And I got it started and drove the rest of the way home, and it was about a 45-minute ride. And again, that seemed like a first from all the people that I talked to. So I don't really know why I was there. I don't know. I never demonstrated incompetency. There were people on the other side of the surveillance equipment that seemed to be taking notes, that seemed to be listening to a lot of things that I talked about in private while in my room, because I did not want to come out and talk about this subject openly unless someone approached me and said, yes, this equipment exists, yes, we see it, yes, it's here, yes. And I don't know why that couldn't have happened. So the whole thing is a bit suspicious. And so I was very careful not to give people anything to use against me. And so I was released. I went home. And that was, initially I was scheduled to be there for 60 days. It resulted in 110 days of confinement, which was a very long time indeed, to be confined in a place like that. It happened the beginning of January. I arrived there beginning of January, and I did not get out till the end of April. So it was a long time, and it was difficult. I've never been in trouble. This arrest that I've had is a first, and I've never been one to be in trouble. So it was a whole different environment for me, and it seemed like it was just going to go on. Like they wanted to do everything they could to keep me there, any way they could, but ultimately there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing, and the person from Connecticut Legal Rights Project stated that she said after seeing it all, she was appalled. She said that likely you'll have a lawsuit against this hospital. When I got back at home and I went to the courthouse in New London, temporarily I had a public defender because I was confined and I qualified and I needed someone. She said there was an uproar, and I said, over what? And she says, over what was done to you. And I liked hearing that. I could use a little uproar, I could use a little sympathy. It hurt, it really hurt. So I was glad to hear that. Since then though, I cannot get answers. Shortly after I got back home, I was up on my roof. I'm a ham radio operator. I was on my radio tower. I use my communications equipment and to disturb the surveillance equipment and try to stop some of the effects, and I'm capable of making it difficult on them. So I was up on the radio tower, and police came. They didn't come in the driveway. I saw the vehicle go down the road and go past where and stop on the other side of trees, so you couldn't see the vehicle from my driveway. And then they got out and they walked up. I saw 2 police and 2 other men. And they walked up the driveway. And they saw me up on the roof and they said, would you mind coming down? They said, we'd like to talk to you. And I said, do you need to talk to me now? They said, yes, we need to talk to you right now. Okay. So I came down onto the roof, down the ladder, and went to talk with them. They wanted to know how I was doing, if I feel okay. And the 2 men that were with them were from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. Now those are difficult questions. They wanted to know why I wouldn't talk with them, because I was very careful not to say too much. And so I told them, I'm fine. I'm fine. I told them I was just released from whining. During the time that I was there, the judge denied doctors the forced medication. I had no bad interactions with anyone there, and that was documented. And in the end, a judge released me because I'm not psychologically disabled, nor am I a danger to myself or anyone else. And I was found competent to stand trial. So I said, I have a clean bill of mental health. So they said, well, how about since then? You've been home for, I think they said 10 days. So they knew. They already knew my business. You've been home for about 10 days. Anything since then? Anything changed? I said no. And I had called them shortly after I got home because this surveillance equipment was still being used, and I wanted them to stop it. And I said, the reason I'm hesitant to talk to you because you're come here in a threatening posture. It looks like you're here to take me away. And indeed, I think that's what they were fishing for. And they said, no, we're not taking you anywhere today. So I said, okay, that's why I'm hesitant to talk to you. I said, I want you to investigate the report that I gave you last November. That's my concern. It needs to stop. And they said, okay, that's it. I said, yes. They didn't want to go any farther with that. Nothing at all. And there was nothing they could say or do about taking me anywhere. So they left. But one thing they said, I had an antenna that I was working on. They said, so do you think this antenna is going to stop them? And I was kind of surprised because I don't remember telling them anything about me trying to stop them with that antenna. Yes, that's what it was for. And if you were listening to this surveillance equipment, you'd know that that's all I've been working on, trying to stop this equipment. And that's what it was for. But I did not tell them that at all. They knew. They knew, so it was obvious that they're listening. They're involved. And they didn't want to talk about it. So, they left. I contacted FBI in New Haven. And I told them, this whole thing has to stop. It's disturbing, it's upsetting, it's painful, and it's life-threatening. And they told me basically that there's an ongoing investigation and they can't discuss it with me, but they'll know that I called. And so it was obviously, they knew who I was. I mean, I told them my name when I began the conversation, but they did not ask it again. They knew who I was. And yes, there's something going on, and they won't talk about it at all. So I'm not exactly sure what is happening with FBI, but they do not want to talk. And I have emailed them demanding that they bring this to a stop, and nothing has happened. In June, on the 17th, I sent a certified letter to the police chief, the first selectman of this town, and I demanded that they stop this. I mean, in December of last year, the sergeant said that maybe it's time that we pick these guys up, meaning the people doing this to me. I'll check with the New London office. Well, the New London office is the FBI in New London at 2 Union Plaza, and I talked to an agent on speakerphone while I was with the sergeant, and that agent was located there. So the police acknowledge that this is happening. And I demanded that they stop it. They could stop it in this town. I don't care what the FBI is doing. I don't care what Electric Boat wants. I don't care what anyone wants. They are responsible for my safety in this town. And no one can tell them that they can't stop this. They told me in December that the FBI were restraining them, so they couldn't stop it. Well, excuse me, they can't do that. The police in this town are responsible for my safety, and they have to stop this. Now, this was in June. I sent a certified letter to the police chief, who was the first selectman, Mark Nickerson. I have not even heard from him. I got the receipt back. It's signed. I can't quite read the name on the signature. I assume it was someone that signed for him. But I have not heard from him. I've heard nothing from the police department. I've been down there quite a number of times last year, late last year, after October, actually, when they told me the FBI was involved. And most times when I went down there, they would have no one that could talk to me. This is the police department. And so I would leave my name and number, and they would tell me someone will call, and no one called. I would go down and ask to talk with the sergeant, and they'd say, well, he's not here. When will he be in? Oh, we don't know. We're busy. So I would leave my name and no one would call. And this has happened many times. So I don't know what's going on with the Easton Police, but they have the authority to stop this, and no one can tell them that they can't. The FBI cannot restrain them. The state can't restrain them from doing their job and protecting a resident of this town from something that's violating their privacy, invading their privacy, assaulting them, torturing and tormenting them in a life-threatening way. The police are responsible to do something, and they have not. Now, in my report that I gave to police last year in November, I stated in there that my wife, my wife fled this home in 2012, and I believe they chased her out of this home. Those with the electronic stalking, the stalkers. They chased her out of this home, and I thought she went to a place of safety. I didn't even know where she was. I didn't find her until last year. I let her be completely. She wouldn't talk about it. She seemed scared. She seemed upset, and I was fighting this on my own. And I began being, from all I heard and all I saw, I started feeling as though she was in danger. And I heard that those stalking her were taking her down hard. It's a little difficult to talk about. Taking a person down hard means you're going to kill them. That's what it means. And I saw it playing out in her life. I saw her losing more and more weight, dangerously thin. Her friends thought she was dangerously thin. She was scared. She wouldn't talk. And I didn't know what was happening. But I put it in writing that I believe her life is in danger. I heard through the surveillance equipment that my stalkers were planning on taking her life. And that I believe duress is preventing her from speaking freely, and that she's in danger. Her life is in danger, and she lives in this town. The police have never even contacted her. And that is unconscionable. And this has to end. This has to end. All of this has to end. And I don't know. I can't prove that this is happening to my wife, but I bet very good money that it is. And it does seem to me like the FBI is involved, and they're not my friend. It almost seems like they've joined the stalkers. As if they're all one organization now, and as if they're leading it. That's the feeling that I get. They're keeping the local police from stopping a crime where someone's getting hurt, where people are in danger. And it all has to stop. And I don't know where it stops. I go through day after day trying to endure this, trying to do everything I can, technically, to try to defeat what's being used around my home. And I talk to other people from the organization that I'm a member of that helps people deal with stalking and electronic harassment. And I've talked to a lot of other victims that go through this, and I can understand what they're going through. Can I ever? I'm getting an education firsthand, both in being abused myself and talking to others that are being abused, trying to comfort them if I can, and as well as understand what it is they go through. I understand. Believe me, I understand. So where does it all end? Recently I did a video entitled "A Party? An Investigation or a Party?" ? Because I hear on the other end of this thing, it sounds like a party. People using this equipment, which is mind-altering, but they're using it on themselves and their group to make themselves very happy, to cause themselves sexual climaxes and things like that, continually, all day. And it sounds like there's people involved that are manipulating the whole group of them, of others, almost like it's a big human research type experiment and someone's documenting it. That's what it seems like. And it's pretty disgusting to listen to. At the same time, the effects that they cause me are painful and upsetting and disturbing and dangerous. So I did a video entitled "An Investigation or a Party?" because I wanted to shock them into stopping the fooling around and getting down to doing something. I didn't want to take people that were well-intentioned and embarrass them. But I need this to stop. This is serious. Then I did a video entitled "An Investigation or a Cover-Up?" And my question is, are you trying to cover this up? Are you trying to make me go away? Are you trying to cover up things that I've heard about Electric Boat and Sunless and so forth? About these programs? Are you trying to make this all go away? And when I look a little farther down the road, looking back at those questions, I have to say it seems like a party, and it also seems like a cover-up. The people on the other end of this surveillance equipment, this stalking equipment, this harassing equipment, seem to consist of people that have liability towards me. Electric Boat, for quite a number of years of human research, stalking / harassment. Eastline Police, for wrongful arrest, harassment, threatening, and refusing to protect me and my wife. The FBI, for being part of this, and just, it seems like they joined the party and have joined those that are harassing me, and I wonder who is taking this data. It's become quite evident that someone is doing experimenting and documenting it and intentionally manipulating their own people, as well as causing painful and disturbing effects on myself. And who is this for? Why is this happening? This should not be happening. That is a horrible crime. And then the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. Whose side are they on? I really don't know. I thought for the longest time they were on my side, and I was helping them understand a very serious issue that may involve that does involve a very addicting effect that this equipment has on people. And that may be why there are people that are out there who are investigating that got stuck in the mess. And it does cause mental health issues for sure in them. Some that I have observed for a long period of time and tried to articulate to them in the way that we were communicating at Connecticut Valley Hospital. So I had hoped I was helpful, and I hoped that in me being helpful, they could be helpful in return. But the end result is they confined me for 110 days without justification. And it was supposed to be only 60. And it's hard to say there was any justification in that at all. Someone should have evaluated me and got me out of there. Or have not even sent me there. So for 110 days, I've been confined, tortured, essentially. So I would think there's liability there. And as Connecticut Legal Rights Project indicated, you'll likely have, she said, you'll likely have a suit against this hospital. From what she had seen. So she saw what was done to me there was wrong. So again, there's liability there. And I have indicated, I mean, it's my position that if the state does something good with this, then I'm happy to have been put through the trouble and the pain of being confined. And when I say something good, if they bring out in public that this equipment exists, not only does it exist, it's being used on people. And if used on them, it's used to cause symptoms of mental illness. And those people aren't mentally ill, but they're a victim of one of these stalking campaigns or some person looking to harass or terrorize. I want it brought out that this equipment exists. I want it out of the courtroom. I would like to see the legislature addressed by people knowledgeable of this equipment, and I would like to see laws passed so this equipment can't be possessed. I see no value for it at all in society. It can only be used to hurt people, and that's what it is used for. Only to hurt people.